everyone. Welcome to another episode of Queen City Unleashed. I'm Shay Olushina, and today I'm here with Kayleigh Ruller, a foodie, a writer, whose work you can find in places like Eater, Charlotte Magazine, South Park Magazine, Queen City Nerve, all over the place talking about food and things going on in Charlotte. Kayleigh, welcome to the podcast.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to be here.
I am excited for you to be here. I'm sure this is going to be a very fun, colorful episode because we both have fun personalities.
I would say so. I brought the color.
Yeah,
I can.
Well. So talk me through this pink. Like, what is the vibe we're going for,
yes.
or is it you're saying you want to live out your personality?
Right.
Okay.
Right. So I was telling you before we started recording that one of my 2025 goals is to start dressing more like myself.
Okay.
And when I think of dressing more like myself, I think of dressing more like my inner child. And so I've been doing a lot of self-introspection and looking at old photos of myself and reading through old journals. And I loved dressing up as a child. When I think about my childhood, I would change my outfit 4 times a day.
So you're the one that your mother was doing a lot of laundry.
Oh, she was doing so much, of course.
Okay.
And not only was I changing my clothes all the time, I was can everyone come down and watch me perform?
So this has been in you.
So this is in me.
Okay.
But I think there was a time where I felt like I had to follow, certain trends or look a certain way. Yeah. But that doesn't make me feel like myself. Yeah. And so 2025 is what articles of clothing, what pieces of jewelry, what things can I put on my body and in my life that make me feel like I'm expressing myself.
That represent you.
Yeah, that represent me. And so
Also, wait a minute. We got to get a moment for the earrings, too.
Yes, the earrings as well.
Yeah, okay.
This is a gift from my mom from Christmas.
Shout out to Mom.
Shout out to Bridget. So basically the outfit is just, some of it is nothing fancy. It's Target. We've got some thrifted shoes. This is from Nuuly. Nuuly is amazing.
I've heard
of
them.
It is a great clothing rental service. Helps you kind of experiment, explore.
They're Nuuly and is it Rent the Runway?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's that.
I will say there's a lot more of those things for women than there are for men, the subscription, get some pieces and not. But I am familiar. I'm hip enough to know. You're talking about dress. One of the things that my wife jokes with me about is from probably high school, I was big into neon.
Oh.
Bright green, the highlighter. And I've got a pretty dark complexion. So it made for very interesting contrast in photos.
Funny.
And I got clowned for it a little bit. And I was like, you guys are probably right. I probably don't need to be wearing this bright. Mm-hmm. And then I went to Virginia Tech and they have orange. And so I was wearing a lot of the orange.
A lot of orange.
And so then afterwards, I'm like, okay, we need to tone this down. The problem is I went to the other extreme. So it became a lot of black, gray, nothing with any kind of color. So in the last couple of years, I'm like, let's find the balance where you don't have to dress like a dad. You don't have to dress like you're a middle school boy.
Right.
And finding the balance. So now I'm finding the colors that work best with my skin.
Yes.
Sometimes a little pop, but
I love the fit today.
Thank you.
It's muted.
Right, but it's
cool.
It's definitely millennial. It is definitely giving.
I don't know.
This is a millennial green. When I see this green,
clean.
Exactly.
It's clean.
That's what I'm going for. I can never be the person who's pulling off something too bright anymore because it's just I don't feel like I have the energy, at least when I'm wearing something you pull this off, it exudes. The personality comes with it. My personality doesn't come out in clothing, so I don't think that would be.
Let your personality shine. The clothes are just the backdrop.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Clothes are just the backdrop. I like that.
I don't know.
Okay, so you're talking about dress. How would you describe yourself if you were meeting a stranger?
Oh.
What are some of those core things in your heart that if you got to talk to someone for 5 minutes, that if they never saw you again, that you'd want them to take away from meeting you, Kayleigh?
That's a great question. I think it kind of aligns with what I've been thinking about a lot in my personal life right now. I've been doing a lot of self-introspection, and part of that has been understanding my values and knowing what's important to me and kind of filtering everything I do in this world through those core values. Yeah. So I can tell you what those are.
Yes, please. I'm curious. I'll tell you mine too.
Oh, woohoo, let's do it. So creativity, connection, impact, and freedom.
Ooh.
Those are my 4 core values. And
creativity, connection, impact, and what was the 4th one?
Freedom.
Freedom. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I think there was a time in my life where I felt a little bit of shame about those things.
Yeah.
Like, why aren't my values loyalty and family and faith?
Yeah.
But I am who I am.
Yeah.
And when I'm living through creativity as a writer, when I feel connection is really important because community is huge to me.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, duh, who doesn't love community?
A lot of people, actually.
That's
which is
interesting.
concerning, but like a lot of people do not, and I think that more people need to find a real community. But
yes, and that goes to my point of like connection is that value. It's not just community because you can have a community surrounding you, but if you don't feel essential or an important part of that, you lose that connection.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like the connection is the key component to me. And then of course, freedom. I like part of freedom and creativity together is self-expression, which I think is how I found my way into writing, and writing about things that I deeply care about.
Yep.
You won't catch me writing about things I don't care about.
which I think is important.
So if I were to describe myself to a stranger, I'd say I am very value driven. I am fun. I want to make people feel seen and welcome. I think there's a reason I love writing and talking about hospitality. And it's because at my core, like I like to host parties and welcome people into my life and into my home. And hospitality just is one of those things that is core to my being.
Yeah.
So like, I think I had a lot of insecurity in college and in high school, and I felt like I wasn't good at things that other people were good at. But what I was good at was making people feel valued and seen when I was talking to them. And so I try to carry that through with everything that I do.
Yeah, that is powerful. I think a good way to start the year thinking about those things. I kind of ended 2024 thinking about some of those things, and some of my values have not changed ever, which is a good thing. And then some have evolved and changed, and I think that for me, that's been a good balance of like some of the main things being the main thing. So for me, like faith and family, very important.
Yeah.
But family has also grown from the family I'm born with, which I love my family, but also some of my really close friendships that become less friendships and more family.
Right.
Like these are people that I might call before my actual family in certain situations. Like these are the family that you choose here. I feel really fortunate and blessed here in Charlotte that like I've met some incredible people that I'm like, I can't wait till like we have kids one day and like I'm not introducing you like, oh, this is dad's friends. Like, no, this is your uncle. Like this is family. Like, and I have people like that one of my buddies had they just had their first kid, and the first time he comes over with the baby, he's like, this is your uncle. And it's like, but like that is family. And so I think family has evolved. Ut prosum is the motto for Virginia Tech. And it means that I may serve. And to me, I think that aligns very strongly with what I hope my life is when I look back at it, a life of service. And whether that's at work, even doing things like this, like I hope that what I'm doing here is of service to the city.
Absolutely.
Things bigger than myself. And I think that's a big one. And one of the ones ending last year was authenticity.
Yes,
I think
it's huge.
being, even your social media is just so fun for me to watch.
Thank you.
Because I think when people are themselves or they dress like themselves, it might not work for everyone, but nobody will ever be able to say that she was not herself. And I think that that's important for me, that I don't want regrets of, oh, don't be X version of yourself because people might not like it. Be mature, like understand what works in social settings and how to be respectful.
Of course.
But like, I want to be myself. And I feel like that the peace that you find when you actually don't have to worry about being something you're not is very liberating. It's very freeing. I think it makes people happier in general. And I think it's inspirational for other people. So those are some of those core values for me.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I love hearing other people's values. And I think what you are talking about when you talk about authenticity is like everyone has their own authentic programming, right? When you live your own authenticity, that's how you create magnetism and flow in your life. You know, there's reasons why certain paths or certain careers wouldn't work for me or you. It's because that's just not who we are at the end of the day.
Literally.
And so really leaning into what are the things that light me up? What are the things that make me feel like me.
Yeah.
And I'm not forcing it. And yeah, that's going to be different for someone else.
Yep.
But if everyone's standing in their own power and their own magnetism, then the world will be a better place. So thank you for using your values to create this platform for this podcast and everything
Appreciate
you're
that.
doing.
Yeah, that's one of the things when some of my friends ask, they're like, what is it like? I'm like, well, I'm not a professional interviewer. Like, I'm not on the news. Like, these are just conversations. So I am talking to people like I would talk to people. I was like, so I just get to be myself. I was like, I don't, like, I have a lot of love for people who have to act emotions that is different than what's going on in their regular life. Like when I, like certain actors or actresses that I follow and they talk about like what it took for them to get into a mindset. I'm like, that's tough. I'm like, I like being able to just show up and I'm like, this is me, this is how I talk, this is how I act. And that's the end of it. But very good answer for how you describe yourself.
Thank you.
Where are you from?
So, great question. I was born right outside of New York City, in Rutherford, New Jersey, and I very much do take pride in that.
Quick question.
Yes,
Wait,
talk to
time
me.
out. You said right outside New York City, and my mind immediately goes to New York.
Right.
But it's Jersey.
It's Jersey.
Okay.
So it's just, oh, geez.
So you're not a New York girly then?
Well, I love New York City, and I feel drawn to it. I mean, my bedroom window growing up in New Jersey, like, looked out on the skyline of New York.
Wow.
It was, I don't know the geography, but my dad worked in New York City.
Okay,
So
okay.
it was a quick,
You had a
bus
life in New
commute.
York. You just didn't
Yeah,
live
but I
there.
was also like a child. So it was more of the kind of like small New Jersey borough feel, which deeply impacts who I am.
Okay.
And so that's when I say, like, I'm proud to be from New Jersey. It's kind of funny because I left New Jersey for Charlotte when I was 8.
Okay. But so you were there long enough to pick up some...
Absolutely.
Some things.
And those things that I picked up were this sense of gathering for food, gathering around food. My neighbors across the street, the LaFossos, every single Sunday would have what they would call Roni night, which
Italians?
was, yeah, they were Italian. And they would host their family and their friends for a like 45 people pasta dinner
Every week?
single Sunday. And then on Fridays, me and my other neighbors, the Snaps, would rotate pizza night. And so we would rotate each other's houses and have pizza. And so food was such a centralizing, and it wasn't just food, but food as gathering was such a central part of my life there. And also, I think just being in the energetic, dynamic area around New York it informed who I was. And it's funny, we were talking about acting. You mentioned it earlier, but like there was a large chunk of my life where I was an actor and did acting. And I do think that going to Broadway in New York was a huge part of that.
Yeah, influencing that.
Yeah, it's going back to what we were saying earlier about dressing up and all, and watching, doing the performances. So anyway, that's my New Jersey truth. But then I moved to Charlotte when I was 8, and we moved to Ballantyne. My parents are still in Ballantyne, which is in South Charlotte. And I grew up here. And then when I was 18, before going to, well, actually 3 days before high school graduation, I decided to withdraw from going to school at UNC Chapel Hill and take a gap year. And that was a decision made from hope and fear, and my dad encouraging me to take a risk. And I deferred my enrollment at UNC. I ended up never going to UNC, and took a gap year and lived in Los Angeles by myself at 18 years old.
That's a huge move, because that is a large city with a lot going on for an 18-year-old to be.
I know. It's crazy.
Hey, you survived. They didn't chew you up and spit you out.
No. I mean, it's so funny that my parents.
Also, kudos to your parents for like saying, "Hey, go do this."
They were so supportive, and it was not just so that I could go run around and play. It was, like I said, like acting had been this kind of ongoing thread throughout my life.
Yeah.
Where I would like do professional acting for a little bit and go really hard, and then be like, oh no, I want to keep doing school. I was like a huge, very perfectionist in school, and felt like it needed to be my life.
Number one,
that was the standard. And so then I would quit acting, and then I'd go back to acting. And it was this constant like back and forth. And then I just got this opportunity to, I'd gotten far in this audition process at the end of my senior year of high school. I ended up not getting the role, but it sort of sparked something in me that was like,
there's a fire there again.
Yeah, I was like, maybe I should explore this. college will always be there.
Yeah.
Let me see what this is like.
Good for you. Wow. So LA, you end up not going to Chapel Hill. You end up going to.
I went to UCLA.
Wow.
Yes. So I stayed in LA. I did acting for that 1 year. And like it always goes, I left uninspired by it. I did other things. I got into writing. I did yoga. I did travel. I was discovering myself, all that stuff. But I ended up really needing structure. It was really hard for me, actually. I was so grateful I took that year. It sounds really magical and beautiful, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity because it led me to things like UCLA and living in LA for 6 years. But at the end of the day, it was also a very lonely time for me. And I told you about how important connection is to me. So I had things like freedom and I had things like creativity, but I was missing the impact and the connection.
Yeah.
And so when I got to UCLA, I just dove straight in and I became super active at UCLA, like was involved in a lot of clubs, like mental health clubs, farmers market. Like I was an RA. I just like went 100%, probably as I do, went a little too hard and overdid it, but it's fine.
I think there's a certain sense of, what's the word? I think fulfillment, though.
Yeah.
For I think folks like ourselves that have a lot of energy and want the connection. When I first got to college, my freshman semester, it was I went to my dream school. Virginia Tech was a school I always wanted to go to, so I was over the moon to get there. But then I got there, and I was like, apart from school, now what? And so my world growing up in Richmond was always there. I had the same friends. I still have some of the same friends now, which is fantastic. But I got there and I'm like, this is a big school. Like, what is I couldn't find like my niche.
I understand
and that first semester. And so when you were saying going to LA felt lonely and didn't sound magical, to me, it actually doesn't. It doesn't sound as magical as I think people would make it out to be because without the connection and purpose, I feel like my life starts to unravel somewhat because I think that helps ground me and know like a reminder of like what I'm doing or what I'm trying to do is bigger than myself and gives me a community of people to support and be supported by. So that first semester, I was a busybody. I wouldn't say I was busy in the right way. I was just everywhere. And I had terrible grades. And I came home, my dad was like, hey, you got to get this together. And I was a good student in high school. So it was like, and people were like, were you partying? I'm like, no, I just was talking all the time to people. Like I'd go, like literally going for an exam, studying for an exam, go down the hallway to get water. People in the lounge was like, I'll stop in for 15 minutes. 3 hours later, I'm still in the lounge and I'm like, I've got a test that I've gotten one chapter out of 4 through. So my grades suffered. And then going back, I had 2 RAs actually push me and challenge me about my journey in my life. And I started thinking about it in a way that I hadn't. They're like, this is something that you should share with people. The building I was in was predominantly white. I think out of 320 students that year, I think 7 were Black, which is a very low percentage. And they were like, your story should be shared. And so I did. And the response from the people in the dorm was insane. And I was like, oh, this is it. I'm like, building, like making uncomfortable situations or conversations that people are unsure about, creating space for people. And that's where it started to click. And then after that, it was off to the races, and I was doing everything and anything under the sun at Tech, and this leadership group doing this. And so, like, I get that feeling of like you need to be able to connect with people and the impact being important. Those things
from authenticity.
Yeah, like it's being myself. Like this is my story.
You have to be honest. You have to tell your story, and you had to kind of break down the barriers there and really truly connect. Tell your story, tell your truth, and that's when the things get going.
It was even like being honest with myself about like, I was thinking about things in ways that I'd never thought about that were so different from other friends that I had in college and their upbringing. They're like, yeah, we don't have those experiences. And I'm like, oh yeah, you don't. And I was like, that was the first time I really, really got to dig into it. And it was fun. My dad laughs. He was like, yeah, it was great for you. You came back though, challenging everything. And I was like, yeah, he's like, but it made us better. And I think that was the fun of it. And I think that's what was your RA? Because I'm always curious. I hear people say RA, and I was fortunate to have a few good ones. I also know
Yeah.
some bad ones.
Yeah.
What was your RA style? Were you like a cool RA? Were you like people in your room, like your floor in your room at 2 o'clock in the morning? Or were you like, please don't make me write you up,
Oh my
behave?
gosh. I'm laughing. I'm laughing at this because my RA experience was so like crazy because it was also COVID hit halfway during my RA time. I was
Ooh,
also so because I had taken my gap year, I was older for my grade,
yeah,
but I also was an RA when I was a sophomore. So I was one of the younger RAs.
yeah.
And so I had residents that were freshmen, residents that were sophomores, juniors, and seniors. So there was that dynamic. But at the end of the day, I was definitely a chill RA.
Okay.
The problem was not the problem. It was almost like I was placed in the wrong dorm. I was in a dorm that was mainly like people that paid for private bathrooms, and they were a more
Reclusive.
quiet, not party crew. And so I was always pulling teeth to get people to come to events. And there I
Ah,
am, like hosting all these cute little
as a
sushi and
community builder,
sustainability.
that's now
Yeah.
fun.
Yes. No, and I was like, come on, everyone. So what I did was like, started meeting them where they were at versus trying to force them to go to an event they didn't want to go to. They were just quiet. UCLA has, I don't know, this is probably misinformation, but I think like 40,000, undergrads. So,
It's a
or
big school.
it's huge. So it's like you get a very eclectic, diverse group of people that have very different needs, very different backgrounds, very
Yeah.
different preferences than your own. And so trying to create an environment where all 65 people feel comfortable is a challenge, but one that, like I said, hospitality is so important to me. Like I was made for this. So
Yeah.
I started doing this thing called the cookie cart. So I would go around with little sweet treats in a cart. Yeah. And I would knock on my residents' doors and I just check in on them during like exam time and give them sweet treats. And then I'm still good friends with, like, honestly, I made a couple of good friends in the
Yeah.
grade below me that they definitely came to me. And honestly, like, talk about impact. I really do feel like I made an impact as an RA. Like, I had a student that was dealing with substance abuse, and I was able to point them toward the proper resources
Yeah.
and be a source that they could trust. And I had, students struggling with mental health and everything. And I was an open door for them.
Yeah.
And so even though it didn't have the kind of like, woo, bunch of freshmen partying,
Yeah.
I'm the chill RA feel, it did.
You still had impact
I
there.
still had impact, and I tried to also be a stable source throughout COVID as people were leaving the dorm. So overall, it was so fun. But funny little piece was that was also during a fun time in my life where I was like freshly single, and so I was in my I kind of was in my party phase. I was freshly 21, so we had to do like an RA review. Like the students, my residents had to rate me, and I got great feedback. Like
Nothing crazy.
no one, there was no problem. One negative thing was like sometimes her room is too loud late at night because I would have people over for wine nights, but not my
So
residents.
the RA turning up a little bit too much.
I was 21.
Yeah. I'm thinking of, you said like you're still friends with some of your residents.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of my buddy Skylar, and Skylar was a year older. I think I met him. So my freshman year was his sophomore year, and then he became an RA his junior year. And I lived in one of those dorms where they encourage people to stay like freshman through senior year. So I stayed for
Okay.
3 years. And so Skylar became one of my best friends in college. And we come from such different, like wildly different backgrounds. Skylar's one of the coolest people ever. Like anybody who ever met Skylar, they're like, how do you know him? Like everyone loved him. Like he was in a service fraternity, and they're like, Skylar, like we all adore him. I'm like, he's one of the most humble, funny, chill guys. He actually gave me the hardest time about dating my wife because we were friends for a while, and he was always like, all right, so what's next? And I was just like, we're just friends. And sophomore year, we came back, and within, like, she met me as soon as I moved back into the dorms. She got there, I think, the day before. And within 24 hours, we're like together for like the first 3-4 days. And Skylar goes, so after the whole summer, you guys are still playing this whole we're friends thing? And I was like, yeah, man. And then like a month and a half, we were dating. And he was
Oh my
like,
God.
I thought so.
Told
I
you.
thought so. But yeah,
That's funny.
shout out to the good RAs who end up becoming
Yes.
friends. Okay, let's talk about Charlotte.
Yeah. I know we were.
No, this is
crazy.
great. This is great. What are some things outside of your eating and your writing? Like, what are some things you do personally for yourself around the city? Any hobbies? You talked about hosting. What are some things that you like to do in Charlotte?
That's a great question. I mean, it's hard when you're like outside of eating because truly, like, it's not just eating. It's just being active in the kind of like business and hospitality community. So like coffee shops.
Yeah.
I like to work at coffee shops. I like to catch up with friends at coffee shops. I love all the not just coffees. I love Giddy Goat. I love Summit Coffee. Like those are my homes away from home. And so I definitely do that for fun. I feel lucky. I do have great community here because I went to high school here, so I got some great high school friends. And then I also have friends that I've made post-college.
Yeah.
And then I have one friend from college, which is exciting. She went to UCLA too. But anyway, I like to socialize. I like to host themed gatherings. So I just had a birthday party in December, and it was an Ice Princess party.
So like adults Frozen?
Yep, exactly that. So my birthday is on the winter solstice on December 21st.
Okay.
So it's very thematic.
We got engaged on the 21st and
No
then married on the
way.
22nd of December.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't even know that
anniversary.
was the solstice. I had no idea.
Oh, what? Oh my gosh. So it definitely most
I'm
certainly
sure my
is.
wife knew. It's just wasn't on my radar.
Yeah.
Okay. So what other theme parties did you have in 2024?
Okay, great question. So we had a Valentine's Day party.
Okay.
Girls wore, cute little outfits. It was just a girls' party. We did photos. We did like pink and red cupcakes, and it was
Night for the girls.
It was a night for the girls. And then I also traveled to London and Scotland last year. And I was totally, again, moved by the hospitality there and the aesthetics and the feel of being in kind of a slower pace. And so when I got back in March, I hosted a tea party. So girls had to dress up like hardcore tea party outfits. Like I wore this big gown, and then my mom made little crumpets and finger sandwiches and little shortbread cookies, and we played games. Like again, another girls' party, and then and then Ice Princess party. So we keep it religious.
Okay.
Yeah, we keep it. It's a religious practice.
Last year we did. So I have a grill. Her name is Big Bertha.
Right.
She's a very important member of the family. My wife sometimes feels in competition with her, but it's okay. They're working through it. So I love to grill for people. And I felt like it was one of those things that as I got older, I said, this is going to be my way I get people to come over here. So I'll throw something on the grill in the summer and be like, hey, so-and-so friend, come get a plate of
There
food.
you go.
So we threw a Juneteenth party with a lot of our friends. And Juneteenth was not something that I celebrated growing up at all because I'm Nigerian, and African American history and Nigerian history, not a lot of overlap. So it wasn't something I understood. So as I am getting older, something that I felt like should be recognized. And so I threw a party for that. And then we had the Olympics. So we threw an Olympics party.
Fun.
We had, everybody got assigned a country. It was like groups of 3 or 4. You got assigned a country. You were supposed to come dressed as your country and bring food from your country.
Amazing idea.
And
Genius
it
idea.
was so much fun. And it was like field day games.
Yeah.
Like minute to win it, like chopsticks, move the grape from this bowl to this one. Like
That's so fun.
Cup stacking with a balloon and Skittle sorting. And it was a blast. And it's one of those things that I am realizing that it's necessary for us as adults that we tap in. You said this earlier, tap into our inner child, because everyone laughed at the end of it. 2 of my buddies were running around. We had a water balloon like toss, and they were running around throwing water balloons at each other. I'm like, this looks like 2 8-year-old boys running around. But just because we get older doesn't mean we stop loving these childish things.
Yes.
So like, why not just do them?
Let's keep following the joy.
Yeah, exactly. So we are always trying to find ways to host different things.
Yes, that's amazing.
Around the city. Okay. Do you have any secret talents? You talked about the fact that you act. are you musically inclined? Like, what are some of those like deep cut things about Kayleigh that a lot of people don't know?
That's funny. It's funny because if there's something that I think I might possibly be good at, I'm gonna do it.
Okay.
So like I can play the piano and I like to sing. This is not
Okay.
something I'm pursuing. Like I'm not pursuing it. But like I do feel like a lot of people that have known me for a while like know that. Like
Okay.
it probably deep down on my Instagram I have some videos of me
Yeah.
singing and playing piano because it all started I was doing musical theater. So it's
Ah,
all very
yeah.
connected. But I feel like that's kind of a boring one. But I mean, I love to dance. Like something about me, and I'm a good dancer, and I love to dance. And
Any dancer? Are you just like a fun dancer, like with the music? Are you like salsa, bachata, like a
right,
waltz?
great. Thank you for clarifying. Just like
A good groove.
just a good groove.
Okay.
But I did try one year. My ex boyfriend and I tried to do like salsa classes. I asked for it for Christmas. It was like a way to like connect with each other. And that was fun, but it didn't stick. I like to just like just be around music and
Yeah.
dance. And it's funny, like I find going out dancing or going out to big parties where there's gonna be music, like I'd rather be like sober at those. Like I just because I literally get so much enjoyment and pleasure from dancing. And I hate when I go to a party and no one's dancing. It bothers me so much. So dancing and any other secret talents,
That
honestly,
speaks to
no.
me on like almost a spiritual level, the dancing piece. I didn't drink in college till I was 21. And I would go to parties and they're playing music and people would be like, he's having a good time. Is he on something? My friends are like, no, he's just always going to be dancing if there's good music playing.
Yeah.
And my brother's the same way. And so we were somewhere, we were in Philly this past summer for one of our buddies graduating, and we were out somewhere and they were playing music and we had like one drink and the two of us are just bopping around and it's like that is like Nigerians love to they
Love
dance at
that.
birthdays, they dance at weddings, they dance at funerals, they dance at every opportunity
It's amazing.
and they're just so happy. And so like my mom had her a big milestone birthday because my mom is still 29, even though I will also be 29 this year. But she had a big
She is 29.
milestone birthday during COVID. And like, we can't do anything. My mom was like, you know what? Everyone just come to the house. And we all just danced in the house, maybe like 13 of us, for like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Incredible.
And that was just, we're all having a ball. Like,
Yes.
all of us having a ball. So
I
I
love that.
appreciate people who want to just dance. And it's not like
Yes.
when people say, oh, I need more drinks for this, it breaks my heart. I'm like, no,
Same.
just let it go. Like,
No, just go. Dancing is it is a connective thing, like you're saying with your family. And I really think it's a healing thing. I think if there's like energy stuck in your body, if you have like extra energy or low energy, like dancing to me is it recenters me very much so. Like
Okay.
it literally is a recentering activity.
So where are some places then are you going in Charlotte
Nowhere.
to
I can't even. Nowhere.
So-
I'm so mad at Charlotte for its lack of dancing.
Oh, okay.
I
I did
don't-
have a question for you. Hot
Yes.
takes about the city. So this might
Well,
be one
that's-
of them.
It's a take. It is a strong opinion. I'm like, where can I go dancing? That isn't, there's like, obviously, well, there used to be Dandelion Market. Wait, is Dandelion Market still a thing? No, they
No, no,
closed.
no, no.
So there used to be Dandelion
was a good
Market.
spot.
And there's Connolly's. But I don't want to go dancing like with 22-year-old frat boys. Like, I want to just, I don't
See,
know.
I also love a good R&B like rap dance
I do too.
situation.
I do too.
So there are places in Uptown, but like that becomes like a whole thing, and like it's one of those things where I want to go dance, but I also don't want to go pay $25 to go into this place just to hear the music and dance. It's like I don't want a section. I don't want
Yeah.
like I just want to go in there and
Dance.
have a good time.
There needs to be a better dance scene. I know that there's like,
We need an investor, please.
Yes.
We have the concept. Cheap dance, good vibes. That's it. Like that's what we need. Somebody fund us, please.
yes. I mean, like when I lived in LA, there were so many great kind of small bars
Yeah.
that also had a dance floor. And that's what we need more of.
There's a whole discourse about this of like what happened to like dancing at clubs, and there's this whole back and forth of like, well, it became all about money and it became like who's gonna buy a section and who's buying bottles and all these different things.
Yeah,
And it's
no.
like that took away from like the opportunity for people to just dance. So like
Totally.
when we've hosted some of our parties, there's always a moment somewhere where somebody's gonna like break out into a dance and it is a
Yeah.
whole bunch of people. And it's just, I smile so big when it happens because I'm like, yes, this is what it's about. Like just like you said, with your friends having a good time.
Yes.
Like
That's it. Like when you ask where I'm dancing in Charlotte, it's at my friends' houses. That's
fair
where
enough.
it is. We take the aux from the boys and we put on Chaperone and we get to work.
Chaperone girly.
Of course. I mean, look at
This is chaperone is I'm also, as much as I am one of the younger millennials, there are certain things that are old manish about me.
and it's
It's music. There are certain artists that like new artists for me to like jump on, like you really have to do something crazy for me to be like, you know what? I'm giving you a shot. And now I see where some of my friends that I've had issues with when it comes to music, some of them are a little weird.
had
They're only
issues.
they're only listening to artists that like made music in like the 90s. Like they haven't made music currently.
Yeah.
I like artists that are still making music currently, but Chaperone, I feel like that was, if she had got me in college, I feel like I could have
Yeah.
been there at this point.
I-
I also don't feel like I'm her target audience.
right.
and
That's what I was gonna say. But
that-
you can, if you want, you can go dancing at the Pink Pony Club as well. But
like I just there's no part of me that screams Pink Pony Club. And like you,
Me neither.
You Pink Pony Club, me. No, because
Yeah.
I can't.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine.
So, do you have any other talents? We'll get back to the
No.
tips, but any other secrets?
Oh goodness. Honestly, like when I'm hanging out with my family, I don't know. This is definitely not a talent, but like just something about me is I'm pretty much performing and trying to make my family laugh all of the time.
Oh, so low-key comedian.
I don't know. I don't know about that. I think we're gonna leave it at that. I think my hidden talent is like
Low-key
dancing.
comedian. Okay, so maybe that's the title for your thumbnail, like Charlotte's newest comedian.
Oh my gosh. God no.
I joke. We had a comedian on, and I love so much of what they do. Brian Lee, that you
Yeah.
connected me with. We sat down and talked recently, and like he's talking about comedy, and we're talking about. I was like, yeah, I write jokes sometimes, but it's like it's for internal. It's for internal enjoyment. Like my
Right.
wife, close friends, family, like they get the jokes. But outside, one of my buddies, his wife goes, she's like, Shay, you're one of the funniest people I know. I'm like, I'm glad you think I'm funny because I need to be funny to some people, and that's it. Like I don't have the
can't please
confidence to
everyone.
be getting on stage and like, no, it's
no.
no, not for me.
Yeah.
All right. I ask people this question most of the time, but I've been very excited to ask you because you are basically a professional eater. So, what are some of your best spots in Charlotte?
Great. Woo! This is a big one. This is a big one for me.
Like I was like excited. I'm like, you've probably eaten more restaurants than more than anybody in Charlotte. So, what are some of your favorites? Casual,
Yeah.
fancy night out, cocktail bar, all of it.
I'll throw it all out.
Okay.
At you. Actually, a fun thing that I'm doing right now is working on creating Kayleigh's all-encompassing guide to Charlotte. So I write for a lot of different publications, but say I'm writing a list of cozy spots. That's kind of limiting, and it also has to be in the voice of, say, like Eater or whatever publication I'm writing for. But I'm like, I want to create a resource for people that is like, here is my personal guide. Here are my picks. There's no PR. There's none of it.
Just you.
Like, this is just what Kayleigh likes. So it's kind of all fresh in my brain. So we'll start from the morning up.
Okay. Ooh, I like this.
Coffee. I've already mentioned a couple of
Yeah.
spots. I love the Not Just Coffees. My favorite coffee shop is Not Just Coffee on Providence Road that shares a space with Tabor, which is a men's clothing store, and Soko Gallery. It is this lovely little bungalow, and they have the best baristas and a couple of small seats. It's just, it's perfect.
Okay.
Breakfast, I I don't love Charlotte's brunch scene. I really don't. I also don't personally love going out to brunch. I like to make breakfast at home. If it is a weekend, I love getting a breakfast burrito from Giddy Go. You seem upset.
That is a hot take.
Yeah, maybe that is a hot take.
You don't like the brunch scene? Mm-mm. Explain that. Why?
Well, okay, I hear you. I think it's just that, to me, brunch. I've also been a server for like many years, like in and out of working in service. So working brunch as a server is
so this is from an internal trauma.
This is an internal thing, and I don't. When I want to spend money on food, which is mainly what I do, I want it to be something that really like blows my mind and that makes me think I couldn't do this at home. I like to cook. I'm a good cook, nothing exceptional, but I can make a damn good omelet at home. And I can make pancakes at home. And I love the idea of like kind of a hungover brunch with the besties. And that's when I'm going to go out to brunch. And that's going to be like Original Pancake House or like a diner, you know? This is kind of an elevated. Oh, I hate that word. Sorry, I didn't mean to use it. But you know, that is actually what it is. These elevated brunch experiences. Like, I also don't like day drinking. I don't want a Bloody Mary, and I don't want a mimosa.
I think
I'm like very passionate about.
Yeah,
this.
I think you're thinking more of the 2024, 25 concept of brunch. Brunch is, to me, the meals, not even the drinking part of it. Brunch is my favorite meal ever. Like, if I had to pick one genre of food to only eat for the rest of my life, it's not dinner, it's not lunch. It is, I could eat brunch because you can have sweet brunch, you can have savory brunch. There's all different sorts of combinations that there is.
I hear you.
Fruit, eggs, meat, bread, pancakes, waffles, everything in there. Potatoes, all of it you can find in brunch. So to me, brunch is more about the food. And I think Charlotte has
that's what I'm saying is I don't think brunch food is good. I think eggs are boring.
Yeah, but it's more than just eggs. Like a good biscuit and gravy, like a really good biscuit and gravy. Mm-hmm. Coquette brunch, fantastic.
I haven't had that.
Uptown Yolk brunch, fantastic. Mm-hmm. Like there are good brunch places. I don't think they're a ton, but they're a good brunch for, oh goodness. This has a diner-ish feel. Oh, Biscuit Belly. Have you been, are you familiar with Biscuit Belly?
I know what it is. I haven't been.
So I went with the guys a couple years ago on our bourbon trip in Louisville, and then they opened one up here. Very funny story. We went 2 mornings in a row out there. We went one day, went back the next day, and the servers were like, weren't you 6 in here yesterday? We're like, yes, we were. It was good. Mind your business. Well, then they announced that they were going to be opening one in Charlotte. It got sent in the group chat, and they all made the joke because we all loved it. But I was like, this is a great concept. Well, I knew they were going to open one. My wife and I are at the liquor store one day getting ready for something. And I see a guy in the shirt, and I was just like, oh, Biscuit Belly. I was like, are you working there? He's like, I'm one of the managers. I'm like, oh, no way. I was like, I love the place. Went in Louisville waiting for the one to open. He goes, hey, we are actually doing soft opening right now. Come by and get a free meal. And I was like, are you playing with me? He was like, no, just go. When you get there, tell him my name. And we got there, and they sat us, and I was so happy. And we've taken our friends there. So like they have a breakfast corn dog that is sausage link, deep fried, and pancake batter. It's so good. Like, and I love it. They have bonuts, like biscuit dough that they kind of make sweet with an icing. Amazing. Okay. These big chicken, egg, and cheese biscuits. Like, brunch to me is like the food. It's never the drinks. It's like feeling full afterwards. I know what you mean.
And I respect that. And, you know,
I'm just not getting anywhere with you on this one. It's okay. It's okay. That's fine.
No. I'm sad that I started like talking about Charlotte's food scene on this negative note, but it's really not. It's not Charlotte. It's literally me and my relationship to brunch, and I respect that and I get that.
That's fair.
You know what? We're
okay. So we're moving past breakfast. Breakfast she does at home. Okay.
Yes, she does breakfast at home. But let me also add one detail, which is that I think another reason me and brunch don't get along is because like I really love like a little pastry and maybe some fruit and a coffee for breakfast, or like
a European breakfast.
Yes. And when I was thinking about the best breakfasts I've had, they've been not that I go to Europe a lot, but like I went to, when I was in London and Scotland, and then I went to Italy the year prior, like those are the breakfasts I remember. I think I like to start my day kind of like I'm always eating, but like kind of on a lighter note so that I have energy to keep going. And
I agree with that.
I want to do the binging, and I want to feel like full at dinner, which probably health wise isn't the best, but whatever.
I will say when we were in Europe 2023, we were there for about 2 weeks. I probably had at least one, maybe two croissants.
Of course you have to.
Every day. And man,
you felt amazing.
I woke up excited to go find the next croissant.
That's how I feel.
Like, so, okay,
That's
I
how I
understand
feel every
that.
day when I wake up. I am excited to have coffee.
Okay.
I'm not too worried about brunch, but we'll transition to lunch here. So
lunch.
Again, lunch also is an interesting one. I don't really like to sit down for lunch. I like a quick, like, let's get a sandwich. So I love the Culture Shop for sandwiches.
Where's that?
It's, what neighborhood really is that? Kind of Noda.
Okay.
It's off of, oh God, I'm spreading misinformation, so I'm not going to say what street it's off of, but it's called the Culture Shop. And it is a kind of a little shop. It's got great wine. It's got great, like, kind of specialty food items and a great cheese selection and lovely little house-made sandwiches with, like, fresh pesto and the fresh cheese that they use. So I love the Culture Shop. I also love Laurel Market. I'm a huge Laurel Market fan. Right there, also off of Providence Road in kind of, what neighborhood? Eastover? Something.
Yeah.
Eastover. Even though I grew up in Charlotte, I'm very geographically challenged.
It's okay. That's not everybody doesn't have the gift.
And that's my truth. But love Laurel Market sandwiches. Okay. I'm willing to wait in that line for the Mercado sandwich. So good. And I also love Reed's. And I also, if I am sitting down for lunch, I do love Kaye Soul in Plaza Midwood. It's
we went during Charlotte Restaurant Week.
Oh, nice.
A couple years back, and it was good. This is 2025 is the year. I'm looking at my wife, the producer behind the camera here. 2025 is the year we go to Plaza Midwood and eat more because we get so many recommendations, and we just don't go to that side of town.
Oh, come on.
So we need to. So 2025 is the year we go to Plaza Midwood.
To.
So we enjoyed it. We just, again, the one thing we do go to Plaza Midwood for, milk bread.
Yeah. Milk bread's great.
So we do go over there.
Milk bread is great. And that will transition me to dinner, which I feel like Charlotte's...
Milk bread is dinner for you?
No. It's transitioning me into... Milk bread is owned by the Kindreds. Oh. Joe and Katie Kindred, who started Kindred and Davidson. And they own Milk Bread, Hello Sailor, Kindred, and now Albertine, which is a new restaurant in Uptown, like right across from the Mint Museum.
Okay.
It is... it's grand, it's theatrical, and the food is Mediterranean, almost kind of like great sort of like Israeli influence, and then you have the southern flair, so you get like game bird, you get fried quail, you get house-made pastas.
Quail.
We also get these lovely like meze platters. So love Albertine for dinner. That's fancy though. That's definitely a special occasion. You can go sit at the bar, walk in and get like a glass of wine. Definitely recommend that. Albertine is great. Of course, I love Custom Shop and Restaurant Constance for kind of date nights, other special occasions. A good family feel restaurant, cozy, kind of old fashioned is Acqua e Vino. It's a really lovely Northern Italian restaurant. Chef Gabriele is from Italy. I mean, he comes out and he talks to the tables. He's there every single night. I love Acqua e Vino. In terms of, let's see, more kind of casual, I know you talked to Steven.
Oh yeah.
From Pizza Baby. I love Pizza Baby East specifically. I love the kind of easygoing Roman feel, walk in, pop out, get a bottle, get a slice, easygoing. I also love kind of the Elizabeth neighborhood.
Their Roman style pizza is top 5 thing for me to eat in Charlotte.
Yeah. It's great. And I just love their hospitality. I think it's just, they do a good job. And then also for kind of drinking, I love Bar of Vins or Bar of Vin. I never know how to pronounce it, but it's the natural wine bar in Noda. It's phenomenal. And they have great cheese and bread. Obviously, I love these things.
Maybe you're destined to live in Europe one day.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I hope so.
Maybe.
I hope so. And I also, I like Substrate, again, another great wine bar. kind of just easy neighborhoody feel. And then, I am kind of like, I'm right now struggling on the cocktail front, on where I want to get like a really good cocktail. I like the bar at Crunkleton.
Okay. You know the most interesting thing about all these places you've mentioned?
What?
We've lived here for 4.5 years. 80% of those places you just said I've never heard of.
Really?
And we eat around the city. And it's just like I tell people, like, I feel like once I feel like, okay, I've got a good grasp on, especially doing this, like I hear people talk about restaurants and I'll look them up. Like you said a whole bunch of places and I'm like, I've never heard of this place.
Well,
like there's so many restaurants, and it's the balance of trying something new versus going back to something that you know makes you so happy.
I know.
And like that's the balance of like the adventure of it. So 2025 also more
new restaurants, and that's
more new restaurants.
There you go. You got some right there. I mean, I'm very inspired by a lot of these people coming onto the scene, a lot of the younger folks. I mean, I didn't even talk about some of the food trucks I like and the pop-ups, like El Veneno and Union Barbecue, Already Sammy's, like these kind of younger, more entrepreneurial, doing creative stuff, just from the heart.
Yeah.
I'm really inspired by that. And like, it really is my mission to seek that out and highlight it and empower them and help like tell their story, help them on a platform. And honestly, just like I nerd out about it. It geeks me out. Like these are things I'm obsessed with. I also like the bar at Supperland. I forgot to say that.
We still need to get over there. That is the place that I definitely want to go to. Again, every time it's like, we should go. Reservations booked out 2 weeks, and it's like, so it's finding a time that
yes.
I need a plan in advance. In advance for that one.
Totally.
What is someone who's lived here, left, and then now back as an adult? Mm-hmm. What is something that you're really proud of about the city of Charlotte? And it can be food related or not, but something that you're really proud of, experiences that you're really proud of that you would want visitors to come to. Like, what are some of those places to go, things to do? What are some of those things?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's one that I think about a lot because when I moved back to Charlotte in 2022, I never expected to move back. I kind of always thought, I always liked Charlotte. Like I was never a Charlotte hater, but I just was like, okay, that like I grew up there, I'm going to go do my thing elsewhere. But when I moved back to Charlotte, I was like, I couldn't find the creativity here. And I couldn't find the pockets of like weird people doing weird things that were definitely like everywhere in LA.
Yeah.
I mean, LA is a city of weird people doing weird things and making a career out of it. Whereas here in Charlotte, it's maybe people are weird, but weird is a good thing, by the way. It's not a negative thing.
I picked that up.
That's what I was getting at. But they're doing, oftentimes more traditional careers. And as someone who just took a non-traditional path, it was really hard for me to find my people. Now that I've been here for over 2 years, what I'm really proud of Charlotte for is establishing more creative communities, having more creative outlets, like the Charlotte is Creative community, the creative mornings that are hosted every month, bringing people together, all the grants for creative people, and also just kind of more on a niche level, like seeing people my age or a couple years older than me in their late 20s, early 30s, choosing to stay in Charlotte and build something. I think of like my friend Kimmy at El Veneno and the guys at Substrate. I'm thinking of these kind of younger folks that are like, you know what, I see something in Charlotte and I'm going to choose to stay here and build something that is different and that is creative, that someone maybe that's been in Charlotte for forever just isn't doing.
Yeah.
And so I'm seeing it happen. I see this girl, Emma, who runs Pertinicious Coffee, and Helen, who runs Thrift Pony. Like, these younger people making waves and making Charlotte more creative and like it's weirder. And that's what I love. I need more weird.
That's the culture.
I see Charlotte I see more people like with tattoos. I see more queer people. I see more like creative, colorful things popping up and people taking a risk on this city. Whereas I think Charlotte used to be a jumping off point for so many people. They were itching to get out. But I think for the most part, most people don't move to Charlotte because they're like, I'm going to start. They like end up landing in Charlotte on accident, kind of how I did. And then they're like, wait, there's potential to build something here.
Make something happen for themselves.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. I think that's our culture is growing and it's being figured out. And I think the support for what I'm gathering from people that have been here much longer than myself is like the support for those things is definitely coming.
Yeah.
Let's talk about you as a writer. So you talked about acting.
Right.
And writing wasn't, I don't think was that always a goal for you? Like, talk about that transition and how you got into food writing specifically. Because clearly we know you love food at this point. So how you decided to mesh those two things together.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think like writing was kind of always there in my life. I always kind of had a journal. I always wrote poetry, but I never really thought about being a writer as a career because around me in my world was just people doing traditional things. My dad was a banker. My mom was a teacher. You know, even at UCLA, which did have a more kind of creative lens to it, like people were studying to be environmental scientists or therapists. And
the more corporate stuff.
Yeah, just whatever. And so it's funny, when I was at UCLA, I wrote for the paper, and I would always write about food and culture and health and the environment, like things I'm passionate about, but I would just write about them or report on them. And I loved it, but I just never, I never really thought about doing it as a career for some reason. And when I was graduating UCLA, I was applying to a bunch of jobs, like kind of in marketing or HR. I was lost. I didn't know what I was doing.
Trying to figure it out.
I couldn't get a job. And I said, okay, I'll go work in restaurants. And because at this time, I was always passionate about food. At UCLA, I studied a degree called Human Biology and Society. That's a mouthful. It's basically just anthropology. And then I like started a minor in food studies. So that was also kind of, think of food anthropology. And I took a great food writing course my last year of college. And I fell in love with it. It was a group of like 12 women, and we would just like share stories about food. It was so much fun. And so it kind of was like, oh, I didn't realize this was a thing, and had a great professor. And I just was like, oh, this is really fun. The kind of seed of the idea was planted. And then I graduated, started working in restaurants. And the restaurant I worked at, Botanica, was founded by two female food writers. And they're just such lovely people that I honestly really looked up to. I was I was fresh out of college, like bright-eyed, and just like thought the world of them.
Yeah.
And they saw something in me too. And I had expressed that I was like curious about writing, and they have a little magazine called Botanica Magazine. So I got to start doing profiles of the winemakers that we had on our menu and things like that. So I got started in LA, and they totally compensated me for my writing. It was awesome. I moved back to Charlotte, and I was working for like UCLA remotely doing podcast production, funny enough. But I had extra time, and I was also still pursuing acting, and I was like, I want to keep writing. And so I just cold pitched myself to Eater, Carolina's, and the editor at the time, Erin Perkins, was very gracious, and she was like, sure, send me some pitch ideas. Like, I'd love to hear it. We need more Charlotte writers. So I did that, and that was in May of 2023. And it just kept going. It just kept going. I found, first of all, writing combines, in the type of food writing that I do, combines all of the things I loved about acting, which was connection, again.
Yeah.
You know, interviewing, it was creative. It was talking about things I really cared about, like food and hospitality. And it was like a finished product. I love having a finished product. That's like the way that my work style is. Like, I have an idea, I want to go do it.
And it's done.
And I want to execute it. I want to put it out there and share it. That's just kind of what makes me tick.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense for me then to be a writer, because you put your all into something, and then it exists in the world, and you go share it with people. And that was like how I felt about performing, and about, you know, I was super into like doing my essays and doing my homework in school. Like, it was like, go really hard, turn it in. Just kind of a nice reward system. So anyway, I just found this little niche in Charlotte where like not a lot of people were doing food writing. And I was in this weird place where I had flexibility in my life, being in my early 20s, which felt, a couple of years ago, felt like more of a curse than a blessing. I felt lonely and confused and isolated, but I kept going to writing because it felt good. And then in the past probably 8 months, I mean, it's my full-time thing. And I've not a lot of people are like, honestly, just full-time freelance writers here. They're just not. Charlotte isn't the type of city where it attracts that. It can be, and it should be, and there actually should be way more writers here, and there should be more people writing about food. There's so many more interesting, valuable voices beside my own that could comment on this.
Yeah.
But while I'm here, I'm going to do everything in my power to meet people and tell stories, and I'm super jazzed about it. Like, it completely energizes me. So
something I want to call out
story.
that you said is there are not a lot of people doing it full time, and just kudos to you, because that means you're putting out, and I've read some of your stuff. You're a really good writer then if you're able to manage being full time and not having to have another job. And so I think that's cool and goes to your creativity, your hard work,
Thank you.
your different approaches to seeing food and how you write about it.
Thank you.
Because if everybody could do it, then I'm sure a lot more people would love to be full-time writers, but you have a skill set to be able to do it and the talent to be able to do it. So I think that's really cool.
Thank you. I really appreciate
kudos
that.
to you for that. You also have, well, like I want to understand too, when you put something out, like especially early on, and maybe even still now, when you put out a big piece, what is it like to get that feedback from the people or the restaurants you wrote about, people in general, whether it's, hey, I read your article about this and loved it. Like, what is that feedback like? What is that like? Yes, because I know for me doing this, when people are like, oh, I listened to that episode and loved it, I'm just like, awesome. Because like, I know I'm putting it out there for people to enjoy, but part of me selfishly is also like, I put this out there for me to enjoy. And so like, if I don't hear from 5 people that they liked it, I'm okay with that. And so it's cool when I do get it though, because it's like, yes, this is what I want. What are some of those emotions for you as a freelancer when you're writing?
That's a great question. So something I love so much is sharing. Like, that's again a core part of my truth and who I am. But something I learned from my time acting is you gotta do it just for you. You can't, like, yes, when I click share, when it's out and when I promote it, that feels good. But I try not to get caught up in how it's received. Yeah. Unless there's truly critical and important feedback I need to know and need to edit and need to change. And yes, I get absolutely stoked when, like, particularly when a smaller restaurant that doesn't have PR, that didn't know that they'd be featured on this list, or get this shout out or win this award, when this opens doors for them, that is so meaningful to me. And that's what I go back to when sometimes I get in my head about, why do I do this? Why do I do this writing? Because I love it. But is it doing anything for anyone else? And I do try to return to the fact that, if this person didn't like it, or they'd have a different opinion on me, like than me on food, that's fine. But if it's opening doors for someone and impacting a real life, then we're good. So the joy, but to me, really, the joy is in the actual production of it. Like, something I love about writing, that I loved about acting and so much, was like the actual doing. I love sitting down with a cup of coffee and writing the story. It scratches an itch in my brain. It's like a puzzle piece. Yeah. And then, oh my God, yes, the fun, bubbly part is pressing post, sending it to my editor, and then being like, we're really stoked to share this piece. And just last week, I published an article with Food and Wine about Asheville reopening, Asheville restaurants reopening post-hurricane. And that, I think, was probably the most impactful article I've ever written. I try not to, get off at the great feedback or whatever, but the feedback that like, I got messages from a lot of Asheville chefs and from the tourism board of Asheville being like, this just, you struck the balance of not painting us as a victim, painting us as empowered, but still needing support, and being able to like find that nuance. I mean, I wrote this article and I took so much time on it because I cared so much about it. Yeah. So the fact that I got to be a part of telling that story and highlighting these issues and creating avenues of support for small businesses is just, it totally lights me up. And I'm very clear about, I'm not a food critic. Like, I think some people, like, when they hear that I'm a food writer, they think I do critiques. That's not really the lane I'm in. I respect that, and I think there's a need for that, but that's not what I'm into. I'm also not into just hyping up anything and everything. Right. I am specific about what I write about, but at the end of the day, I'm a writer and I'm a storyteller and I'm a creative, and I'm a person that geeks out about certain food trends and hospitality trends. That's what I want to write about. I don't really care for dragging people down.
Yeah, I think that's cool. I had a question in there. You already answered it about like the storytelling piece. I think that's something that as I get older that I really appreciate. When I think of even my childhood, I liked being a part of adult conversations as a kid, which drove my parents crazy.
Oh my God, I was the same way.
And I can understand why. But adults told stories in a way that was very interesting. Like there was like, it wasn't like, hey, did you hear about this as like a kid? Not to say like we also didn't tell interesting stories, but adult stories, like I'd be thinking about for days later.
Oh, that's
like
so
hearing
cool.
them talk about them. And as I've gotten older, that's why I appreciate comedians now, because the art of their storytelling, even podcasts that I listen to, like my favorite episodes might not even be people that I've liked, but oh goodness, I'm not going to be able to remember his name now, but there's a guy who went on a podcast and you see him in movies and he always plays like a big Italian type, like somebody's uncle. But he started telling the story of his life, and the episode might have been 2 hours. And when it ended, I was like, please, like, I want more of this, because he talked and told stories in such a way that was like, I felt like I was transported. I was seeing exactly what he was living.
Yeah, it was like compelling. Yeah.
So for me, like with this, it's like, I want people in Charlotte to hear the stories of Charlotte. Like these are the people who make Charlotte what it is, the creatives, the chefs, the developers, like hear their story. And so when I was thinking about you, I'm like, she is also a storyteller of the history or the beauty of food, or Asheville, like the balance of like their story and what they've been through, but their ascension back to what they hope. I think that's really cool.
Thank you.
One of the stories that I think is nuts that you've written about is the ghost at Stagione.
Yes.
Talk with Bruce Moffat about this, and I couldn't believe it. And then you sent it to me like before I talked to him. How did you like fall into that? Like that's such a random.
It is.
That's such a random thing to write about, but you've also gotten connected with their family.
Yeah.
Like it's a whole thing at this point.
It's a whole thing.
So how did you? Were you looking for that story, or just kind of happened?
That's a great story and great question. I'm obsessed with the story of Blanche Reynolds. How did I find out about her? I think I just went to Stagione. I just went to Stagione to eat. And I saw these images of this woman, and I think it was brought up that there was a ghost. And so I looked it up, and Charlotte Magazine in like 2015 or 2016 had written like a literal like short 500-word article about this ghost. And I was like, who is this woman? Because they described her. So the ghost of Stagione, her name is Blanche Reynolds, and she used to live at the house where Stagione is, which again is right off of Providence Road.
Oh yeah,
I love that little area. That's where all my favorite shit is.
They got some gems over there.
And she lived in this Italian villa. She was one of the first people. She was the first person in Charlotte to build this style of home, and she did it. This was kind of in the early 1900s, and she designed the home. And she was this very extravagant woman who would host these grand parties, and she was kind of a little bit doing taboo things for her days, like hosting seances in the upstairs room and like hiring this like nude man to read poetry and putting champagne bottles in the pool and just traveling all around the world.
Hiring a nude man to read poetry.
Something like that. She pranked her friends with a nude man reading poetry.
Oh.
Phenomenal. I'm getting hot, so I have to take my pink fuzzy off. 1 second. Sorry. But anyway, she was just this magnificent woman. I was totally drawn. I'm drawn to stories about women doing doing different things. And so I went to the library. I wrote the story for South Park Magazine. I went to the archives at the Charlotte Mecklenburg Library. Got to see old images of Blanche. Got to read through notes. And then Bruce Moffat showed me around, showed me where she would do the seances in Stagione, and gave me a little tour of the space. And I just absolutely was enamored with her. I think honestly, because I saw a bit of myself.
I was about to say, like, she sounds kind of like someone you'd be friends with.
She's totally a type of person I'd want to be my friend. And I think, again, I'm drawn to people who are doing things that are a bit out of the ordinary in Charlotte. And Blanche was one of those people. And so I was so grateful South Park Magazine took the story. I got to talk to her great-grandsons, and they had great stories about her. And actually, I sent them a copy of the story when it published, and one of the grandsons mailed me a pillbox of Blanche's, a silver engraved pillbox from the 1900s that I have in my room. It's Blanche's. It's pretty awesome.
Man, that's a very, like, again, weird in a good way story. Like when we first talked about it, I'm like, a ghost in Stagione, and not just the ghost, but I think you've given her her name and her respect too, in like a really cool way for who she was in Charlotte, because that is part of
she was part of the Mint Museum. She was part of like growing the little theater group. She was an artist. Yeah, she was a writer herself. I mean, I'm just like, I don't know. We tend to romanticize the past for sure. I'm sure she was also a very wealthy white woman of privilege. Like, I'm sure she had her faults and her flaws, but it is fun to just take the bits and pieces of a person that you like and try to remember those, tell that story, infuse her essence into my daily life.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. And Bruce was also talking about, like, there's certain things that have happened there that they're like, maybe we didn't believe in ghosts before, but maybe we do now. And so Stagione is a personal favorite, like, just incredible.
So that's another one of the faves.
The written media, I think, has lost a lot of its oomph with social media and the way we consume information now.
Totally.
And like, this is a podcast. It's not written. Like, if I had the pen to be able to write these things, I'd probably write them, but I do not. And God gave me the gift to be able to talk. And so, I mean, like, I'll stick with that. I tried to have a blog at one point. Just wasn't my thing. It was painful for me to finish things. Like, I'd have these, like, really cool thoughts that I'd want to, like, just put out. And then by the time I have to write it, it became so much more of a task that I'm like, you know what, stop thinking of these ideas, because then you have to go figure out how to write them and construct them. And so I didn't enjoy that. But I think there is an importance to written media. Can you talk about that as someone who, that is your job, that is your livelihood, like the importance of us still appreciating written media in our cultures, and not even just about food, but whether it's news and just the world, and the importance of it.
Yes. This is a big question, and thank you for asking such thoughtful, inquisitive questions. I really appreciate that about you. This is a big question. I think we are seeing the loss and the destruction of print media. We are seeing it decline because of social media, because of artificial intelligence. But that is our reality. That's been my perspective on this, is being a journalist gives someone a sense of true integrity. That's a thing about so much journalism. I mean, a lot of it has gotten, ethics and morals have declined as well. But for the most part, a lot of these newspapers and magazines have high standards of editorial ethics and integrity, where social media doesn't have that. You can say whatever the hell you want.
Wild West.
There's fact checking, there's copywriting,
or not fact checking if you're Mark Zuckerberg now. Again, I can't keep track.
Right. No, I'm saying fact checking in print media.
Oh yeah, in print media.
Yeah. Like my editors fact check everything I write, and I have to source, and I have to get diverse perspectives, and so talk to people that aren't just like me or would think the same thing as me, but talk to people that have different lived experiences about a certain situation. That is the value of written and print media. And there's listen, we live in a world where AI is present. It will continue on. What AI can't do is know the story about Blanche Reynolds. You know what I mean?
That takes
AI could do,
real
honestly, other
digging.
parts of my job, like coziest restaurants in Charlotte, like
Boom.
where to get a glass of wine in this radius. AI can do that. What it can't do that I believe print media can still do is find the stories that tug on the heartstrings. And that is that value. Now, I'm not going to sit here being like sitting around waiting for print media to just have its renaissance again. It's going to just exist as it is. So I'm kind of in this phase of my career where how do I complement my print journalism, my real journalism that I do for the Charlotte Observer, my editorial work for Eater and Food and Wine and South Park Magazine, with growing my own social presence and doing things like consulting, and I host fun food events, and I want to do, copywriting consulting and help other young writers with pitches. Like, if I'm going to make this a sustainable life and a sustainable career for myself, I would be silly to think that I can just take a couple $100 to write an article. Like, that's not what it is. I can do that, and I can grow my own social media to have that kind of creative freedom that I can't get when I'm writing for the Charlotte Observer. So you have to find ways to connect with your audience, to build a voice, to build trust. And I think by merging real journalistic integrity in print media with fun, buzzy, personality-driven social media, you have as a freelancer, you have a key for, I think, like, more opportunity.
Absolutely. One of the things that I think I've seen you do even more recently is like these fun little like 2-minute like interviews with people. One of the things I laugh about, I was talking to someone recently, is about our attention span is like that of a squirrel now, and people, it's hard to hold people. So like in these podcasts, I put out a handful of clips. Podcasts might go for an hour. It's hard to get people to commit to an hour to like fully digest what you're saying.
Of course.
But if you can be interesting or get them in a way in 45 seconds, if a minute and a half, 2 minutes, I think it starts to soften people up to go find your written media. And so
exactly.
I think it's cool that you started doing these like quick little, hey, like it's not a podcast, but it's like, hey,
a mini interview.
Chef Sam, like, tell me about blah, blah, blah. And now if I enjoy you and I enjoy that interaction, it's like, let me go see what else she's into. Like, there are so many people that I feel like young millennials, Gen Z, I think we put a lot of where we put our time on trial. Like, you have to, like, I feel like there's a convincing, like, you have to convince me to want to commit to you or spend money on you or like really dig into what you're doing. And so some of it feels like sometimes like a trial, but I think that's fun for me. Of like, it pushes me to keep being creative. Like, okay, how can we engage? Like, what is it that people want that's going to captivate them for 45 seconds or a minute? Because if I can get them to a minute, I know I got them, and then like they'll come. So I think it's cool that you started doing this to complement, like you said. Otherwise, you'll get left in the dust, and everybody else will be utilizing everything else. And
you're exactly right. You nailed it. You're smart in that way. Like, you can't just sit around waiting for shit to come your way. You can't sit around and be like, like I don't have a good social media. Like, I'm gonna stick to print journalism because that's the right thing. Like, but the reality is, like, you need both. And you gotta leverage your resources. Work smarter, not harder. Is my motto these days.
But one of the things that I appreciate that you said too is the integrity piece of print media, and the history with that. I think that is so important. I struggle sometimes when we have, whether it's influencers or social media personalities that say these things, and then you get like the fact checking piece of it. It's like 50% of what they said is wrong. And like, for me, it quickly means like, then can I trust you in these other things? When you promote said brand, how do I know it's not just for $1? Like, do you actually use said stuff? Like, I think that's important. And for me, it's like, when I do this, it's like, I'm fortunate that there are enough good restaurants or businesses or people that I actually get to meet, and that I can put the podcast episode out. It's like, this is real, but I'm also like not going to be doing it just because like this is the new flashy thing. Like, I want the real stories. I want the real people. And I think that integrity is important. And like you said, on social media, it is half the times I feel like it's what's the most outrageous thing that's gonna get clicks.
And it is. Like, it's becoming outrageous.
And that drives me crazy because I feel like so many people, real journalists, real storytellers get missed because we want this is controversial and like the simple thing. And
I hear that.
I hope that at a certain point we can get back to like actually taking time to enjoy and process like real information.
Yes.
But
I totally hear that. I think I've tried to be very strategic in who and what I follow.
Yeah.
Which, even that in and of itself is its own problem, right? Because I'm creating kind of an echo chamber of my own belief systems.
Yeah.
But in terms of maintaining my mental health, and using social media as a tool to actually get inspired versus get drained. Like I truly, unless I'm on Reels and watching like really weird Reels, which I do sometimes, my actual feed, like my homepage on Instagram, I don't leave drained. I'm like, oh, I love that idea. Oh, I love that quote. Oh, good. I love that restaurant. Like, I believe social media can be a super valuable tool to a way to see the world you want to see it, the way you want to see it, which again has its dangers. But I think for me, I'm really just looking at great restaurants. You know what I mean?
Sure. And I think that you are, and how you talk and how you come off to many people, whether in person or in writing, I think very introspective and very thoughtful. What do you hope is your mark on our beloved city here for however long? You might be here 3 years, you might leave and end up in Europe and by the end of this year. Who knows?
Yeah.
But what do you hope is your mark when it comes to writing, and especially about the food scene here?
That's a really beautiful question. It actually almost makes me a little bit emotional to think about because when I moved to Charlotte, I really didn't want to be here. I moved with a partner and I had given up what I felt like was my dream of acting, and my life completely evolved and changed, and I am exactly where I need to be. And so to me, like, yes, this is a lot about Charlotte, but my journey and my relationship to Charlotte over the past 2.5 years has changed so much. It's changed me.
Yeah.
It made me realize how much I do love being a part of something and actually paving a culture and not just following a culture. Versus, I could go to LA and New York and I can go to all the cutesy little wine bars and do this or that, but to actually be part of that in Charlotte, and I'm not creating the wine bars, but I am trying to promote them and give them a platform.
Creating the culture.
There's something really powerful. And so I think my hope for Charlotte, and it definitely is related to the food scene, is for Charlotte's food scene to be more collaborative, is to take more risks, and to not be afraid to do something out of the ordinary. There's a lot of safe restaurants in this city that I love, that I go to. The food is great. The wine is great. It's convenient and casual. But it's when I see something that takes my breath away, I want more of that in this city. And I hope that through my writing and through my passion and through me making connections between restaurateurs and chefs and whatever, that something, people's palates, people's standards for a good dining experience, a good service experience has been bettered in some way.
Yeah.
And there's this new restaurant that I love called Rada, and the chef is from New York, and they moved back to Charlotte for family, which I love. And someone commented, left a Google review that was like, "This is too sophisticated for Charlotte," and I thought it's really not. I love when people are doing things that are always trying to raise the standards. I'm such a fan of making things better. Like, why settle for something that doesn't feel like it's challenging anything? Whether that's in food, hospitality, your personal life, your friendships, and yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of always been who I am. I like to constantly better, and sometimes I'm like, Jesus, just chill out. But I want to improve things. I want to improve myself. I want to improve the world around me. And so that's what I hope my mark is on Charlotte. And I'm so grateful for Charlotte for being this weird market where no one was doing what I'm doing. And, at my age and with my flexibility, I just got to jump in and dive in. And there's been so much momentum. I don't know if it's felt, honestly, I don't know if it's felt outside of myself, but I feel it inside of myself. So,
Well, I would
I'm
tell
very
you,
grateful.
people around feel it because you've connected me to a handful of people already, or people that I've interviewed have talked about you, and I can see that. So when you
Aw.
say that connectedness and that impact, like some people that I've interviewed, because you said, "Hey, you should talk to this person," but then I talk to them, and then they're like, "Hey, you should also talk to this person." So it's
It's
this web.
great.
So when you talk about connectedness and collaboration, like it happens, I get to be a part of that. So thank you, and like I
Thank
think that
you.
that impact will be felt whether people know it's you or not, and I
Yeah, yeah.
think that's the part for me that I'm trying to accept that with something like this, I don't know where this goes, but as long as people hear the stories and connect with the stories is
Yeah.
what's important to me.
Yeah.
Whether it's me at the end of the day that they're like, "Oh, you're the guy," like I'm starting to be more okay with the fact it's like that I don't have to hear that. Like it's like
Yeah.
as long as the impact is there, I will know
Yeah.
that
If that's your purpose, then
yeah, like
it
I will
shouldn't
know that
matter.
like I was a part of that. Um,
Yes. Yes.
and the other question I have for you, thinking about the impact, you've lived a little bit of life in since 18, leaving
Yeah.
here and gap year and everything, with the things that you've learned about yours, or the things that you have done in the last year and the way that you've grown in the last year. What are some of these things that you reflect that you're learning about yourself that you would go back and tell 18-year-old Kayleigh?
Oh, you have so many good questions. This is so fun. It's also fun because I'm usually the one doing the interviews, so this is
Yeah.
this is a really fun thing for
I
me.
try to do my Googles and my homework to make sure it's
Yeah,
like worth people's time, because I appreciate people
it,
giving me
it
their time.
certainly is, and I love that I didn't know these questions because I really get to think on the spot. I think, I think about this a lot. Is like, just release the grip, release the grip, release the tight grip that you have on life. I think, and I have this pattern of really trying to figure it out and make a narrative and make sense out of something in
Yeah.
my life that doesn't feel aligned. And my thought is just to loosen the grip a little bit. And you know, I was such a perfectionist, and I'm a perfectionist in some ways now, but it's only in the areas that I really care about. Whereas when I was younger, it was about everything. Everyone had to like me. I had to be the best at math and the best at science and the best at reading. And like, I couldn't slip up. I could not slip up or
Yeah.
else the world would crumble. That was what I thought about my life. And I don't feel that way anymore. I think there's room for error, there's room for mistakes, and I do not have to be perfect, and I have to remember that every single day. No one is expecting. It's not even like my parents weren't like, you need to be perfect. It's an
Yeah.
internal thing of like, I have I have to be doing my very best at all times, and loosen up, chill. It's
Yeah.
okay. That
Yeah.
would be my thought.
Yeah. I think that's I appreciate that. I grew up with Nigerian parents who preach excellence
Yeah.
all the time. And I think it it's good, and I've had to find the balance of it, like you said, sometimes to like chill. Like excellence is important, and like working hard and trying to be the best. But then sometimes there's just some things where it's like I can just be doing this for me, and it doesn't have to be something that I'm looking to improve on or that I have to be driving towards.
Yes, yes.
And I think it's so interesting that at 18, 19, you felt this pressure. But I'll tell you, I'd be willing to bet that a lot of that pressure you put on yourself has put you in situations to prepare you for the moment now. I
I think you're
think
right. Yeah.
if
I'm grateful for that past
yeah,
self.
yeah, like I don't know if you don't expect perfection from yourself or think that it matters. I don't know if you have the same outlook when you write about these restaurants
Yeah.
and like wanting to make sure that you tell their stories the right way. So I think that there is a level of, and do we wish sometimes we could let go of that perfectionist or like like the crazy drive earlier? Sure, but I think
Hmm.
it helps to frame certain things, and that letting go. I think we started the episode talking about this. Like that letting go is just
Mm.
so freeing, and I think for me now it's like, all right, being yourself is okay. it's not going to ruin anything. I told my sister this. I'm like, if you're stressed about it now, like worst case scenario, what can happen?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the worst case. Is that really that bad? And there are certain things that are significantly more important than others, but I think in how you frame it, how you think about it, how you release yourself from some of that stress, I think makes it easier then to go be good at these things and to go enjoy these parts of life. So
absolutely. Absolutely. It's a constant evolving learning process.
Yeah.
But I think we're on the same page about that. Yeah.
I tell my wife this, and I will tell you this too. I think 18-year-old you would be really proud of who you are now.
Aw.
And I feel that way about myself. And when we talk about our relationship, it's like, man, us at 19 would be so excited about who we are now.
Yes.
Like we'd go out to restaurants and we're like, oh, look at them. They're dressed so cool. Like they ordered a whole bottle of wine, not just a soda. And it's like, now we're out, and sometimes I'm like, babe, I was like,
You're doing it.
we're that couple. Like that's us. And
That's really cool.
Yeah, be proud. Like your younger self would be proud of what you're doing now.
Thank you for that perspective.
Yeah. How can people find you? Like, I think it is important. You write for a lot of places. So if you want to list off some of the places that you write, and also know you have a Substack, like go ahead and like plug yourself. So that way people can find you and read everything from cozy restaurants to Blanche.
Yes. Okay. So thank you for that. I definitely am on the interwebs. So my Instagram is at Kayleigh Ruller, KayleighRuller. And my Substack is in my Instagram, but it's called Don't Mind Me. And then I write for Eater, for Charlotte Magazine, Queen City Nerve, Food and Wine, South Park Magazine. Anything else I write about, you'll probably see on my Instagram, but definitely give me a follow. I'm trying to be more active on there so that I can do more storytelling and have an audience for that. So yeah, and I always love to make friends. And if you have a really cool food story or anything story you want to tell, just hit me up in DMs and we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
No, thank you.
This is, I'm sure this is not the last time you will be featured on something Queen City Unleashed. So I am glad to have you here. I've been looking forward to this.
Me too.
We did run the exact amount of time I thought we would
run. Oh my gosh,
so
no way.
I'm glad.
We love to chit chat.
Oh, absolutely. This is like, I feel like we could do this another hour and a half.
Oh my God.
It would still be fun. So thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
You're an incredible interviewer, and thank you for using your gifts to do this and to share and shed light on the Queen City. We're so grateful. Thank you.
Hey, Queen City Unleashed folks out there, please make sure you follow. I'm excited for this list that she puts together of all the different categories in Charlotte. So please make sure you follow. Appreciate you listening. And for now, Queen City out.
Bye.
Thank you.